The North Carolina coast, known as the graveyard of the Atlantic, has claimed thousands of ships, from tugboats to U-boats, barges to dredges. Today is a special day for millions of folks in the States. It's August 21st, 2017. It's the total eclipse. And here in North Carolina, we are diving a few miles from the eclipse path. We are diving the Hyde, a 215-foot ocean-going hopper dredge. The Shipwreck sits upright in 85 feet of water about 18 miles offshore. She was built in 1945 in Wilmington, Delaware, and saw service in Atlantic, Pacific, and Honolulu. Its primary function was to keep waterways open for naval ship traffic. Because the Hyde was constructed during World War II, it was one of a few dredges outfitted with guns, armor, and a gun crew. The Hyde was sunk by North Carolina Division of Marine Fisheries in 1988. She is one of the most popular wrecks in the North Carolina area. She sits intact and upright on the bottom with a lot to see. The deck is around 65 to 70 feet, which makes this a good dive for all types of divers. Many parts of the wreck are penetrable, and the wreck is swarming with fish. Visibility here averages 50 to 70 feet, but due to the rough sea and high winds during this week, the visibility wasn't that great during this dive. I would say about 30 to 35 feet. In summer, a 3-mil suit should be fine. You don't want to overheat at the surface between the dives. I have seen a few divers go down with a 3-mil and others with a 5-mil during this dive. When wandering with all these little colorful creatures on the deck, you quickly forget you're in North Carolina waters. One once said, "It makes you wonder where all these fish were before the ship was sunk here." Invertebrates encrust the wrecked structure, providing food for the reef-associated fishes. The shipwreck is alive with marine life. The deck of the Hyde is covered in colorful soft coral sponges and other growths. You can't find huge corals, of course, this is North Carolina, but the growth has a fair amount of little fish, urchins, clams, crabs, and other interesting things to see if you slow down and look. Some divers were lucky to spot a stingray and a flounder at the bottom, but I was busy chatting with my little friend who seems to want to tell me something. I don't speak fish. If you forget worrying about the 8-feet shark and the 3 to 4 feet barracudas hovering around you, you may slow down and look under things. There is so much to see. A marine biologist with 44 years of diving experience was diving the Hyde with us. He dives the Hyde twice a year, and after each dive, we would spot him using his dive knife to crack some shells and grab some stuff from it. In some cases, he would place whatever he found in a little plastic canister, and in a few other times, we witnessed him chewing on some scallops or whatever those were. He took the concept of fresh seafood to another level. Diving shipwrecks is more than just a dip into the water to look at the marine life. It's a chance of viewing a part of history, a vision of something unnatural, a work of mankind, which over years has become part of the underwater ecosystem and a home to hundreds of different marine species since their sinking. The Hyde has become an artificial reef, a habitat for marine life which attracts both smaller residents and larger predators. This wreck gets run over with sand tiger sharks, which makes the dives here a great experience. Nurse sharks, sandbar sharks, turtles, and barracuda are not uncommon either. There were thousands of spot-tailed pinfish, several spadefish, orangeback bass, juvenile French angelfish, gobies, blennies, toadfish, and more. The Hyde is known to have resident sand tiger sharks, which were there for our entire dive. There was a very large sand tiger shark, about 8 feet, and about 4 smaller sand tiger sharks, 5 to 6 feet. The big sand tiger shark had schools of fish around it. It was awesome to observe these creatures glide above the wreck structures and meander into internal spaces. Schools of barracudas were all around us. Some were pretty curious, getting a bit too close to us. It was great to see this medley of tropical fish. I was able to spot a baby moray eel in a tight spot, hard to get to. I wasn't able to get a good shot. Some photographers had fun with their underwater cameras, taking some nice photos of sharks, barracudas, and the marine life around the wreck. By the end of the dive, the eclipse had started, and it got a bit darker at the bottom. The current here is very mild to none. Diving is relaxed. You only need to make sure you aren't too close to the wreck metal edges. Losing track of depth when exploring the wreck can be surprisingly easy. Swinging from the bottom up to the deck and back down to those inner spaces can push your dive deeper than planned. Once you know the Hyde, you can easily plan to go first all the way down, make a turn around the ship, then go back up to explore the deck before you end the dive. On the way up to the surface, a couple of barracudas came to say bye. Amid the low visibility, I could tell they were smiling. The Aquatic Safari Scuba Center crew and team were awesome. I will certainly use them again. The crew and all of us were fortunate enough to be on the boat with some folks who had bought the famous glasses. We took turns to witness this one-lifetime event.